I've built dozens of coasters, but none have ever come out quite like this. I'm going all in to build the best ride I've ever made. And to get there, I'm drawing from some of the most iconic rides on the planet. In this Planet Coaster 2 gameplay, you'll see how I designed, crafted and perfected this high-speed, multi-launch roller coaster. I've taken inspiration from VelociCoaster and Taron, mashed them together and created a ride like never before. We don't have many multi-launch coasters in the UK. In fact, we have so few, I haven't actually been on one in the UK. But I have been on one in Cedar Point. It was 2014, I was there with my family, even my nan came, who was 70 years old, and we got to the park, we stayed in the hotel overnight, and then we came into the park, and there it was. We went straight to the back, and there was Maverick waiting for us. My 70-year-old nan was asking, can I come on? And we were like, I don't think so, it looks pretty intense, let us try it out first. So we joined the queue, and because it was really early in the day, got straight on the ride, and strapped in, excited to go, and we go up the lift hill and we get this fantastic little layout and we come into this tunnel. And I'd avoided POVs up to this point, got in the tunnel, and then it came to a stop because it stopped at that time, and then lo and behold, the punchiest, most surprising launch there's ever been. And all I could think of during this launch was, thank God my nan didn't come on this, she would have had a heart attack. And ever since, I've been obsessed with multi-launch roller coasters, and that is what has inspired this one. I wanted a ride that you would queue up for, seeing this really quite impressive layout, but completely unaware that this second launch is about to knock your socks off. So that's really what was leading this. Now, in the last episode of Wonderland Point, I had a go at recreating my own version of Hulk, which is technically a launch coaster. I guess it's a tyre drive, launches out a tunnel, that's a launch coaster in my eyes, and goes into this big sprawling layout of inversions that I think is a little uninspiring and bland. Just like the real thing. I'm going to get some hate for that one. But not as much hate as I'm about to say on the next one, because the other launch coaster at Universal, not Hagrid's now, I wouldn't dare insult Hagrid's, VelociCoaster, fantastic ride, don't get me wrong on that one, but the theme is quite boring. And I wanted something that was visually interesting rather than just concrete walls. So I've decided to mix it with the god of all theming, at least for multi-launch coasters, and that is obviously Taron. I know it's been done a lot of times before in Planet Coaster, but I don't care. I thought I'd do my own interpretation of it, because, well, it looks great. Might as well copy from the best, right? So that's what I'm going to do with this ride, and hopefully it comes out really great. Now you might ask, why am I not doing Maverick? Because that relates most to the story that I told at the start, but I think Maverick is, it's not really what I'm after. Whilst the lift hill is an interesting sort of approach, I don't like the shortness of it. I know that's the whole point in the ride, that it's short compared to the Cedar Point's others, like giants, but I wanted something tall for this ride, mostly just so it stands out and people will go, oh yeah, that's the one with the giant top hat. So that's why I've gone for a more VelociCoaster Taron baby rather than VelociCoaster Maverick. Now, when I start trying to design a ride in Planet Coaster 2, I take it all too seriously. I don't know if anyone else does this, but I will start looking up roller coasters and then just study the POV, almost frame by frame. It's kind of sad in a way, because this is a game and I treat it almost as if it's my client, where I've got to design a ride to fit what they need. So I went away and started studying Taron with its lovely sort of sweeping turns and sort of popping airtime moments, and I thought, wow, that's a really cool start to a ride. So I tried to make that, is basically what I'm trying to say in a weird roundabout way. So this first half that I've got here is just purely inspired by Taron. I wanted tight turns in a compact footprint, crossing over itself quite a bit. Admittingly, I haven't done it as much as Taron. I just can't imagine how difficult it would be to get supports in this. And I was also thinking of trying to run a path through here, so I'm trying to leave some space to get some of those through, because at the time of making this, Update 5 hadn't come out, so all in all it'd be very hard to try and weave a path through with a big concrete sort of foundation on it. That happens to be easier now, but wasn't at the time, so thanks Frontier on that one. Just came a little too late for me. So that's why this layout sort of is like it is. But I still want to be inspired by VelociCoaster, because VelociCoaster has that fantastic top hat, which is like the staple when you look across the lake at Islands of Adventure. And I think Wonderland Point needs something too, where you sort of step into the land and immediately your eye is drawn to this fantastic roller coaster structure. And that is why the second half is going to be more like VelociCoaster. But I did have to face quite a challenge here, because Taron is all about no inversions, whereas VelociCoaster is, yeah, look at this really cool stool and the Mosasaurus roll, or however that's said. You could create a list of every sort of element I mispronounce or get wrong, and you'd basically have every element going said in some strange way. So if anyone wants to keep a list of that, you go for it. Share it with me. I'm curious to see what I get wrong. Now I'm going to save you all from me butchering this top hat. I mean, look at it. It looks dreadful. And I can't bear to have you watch this, so I'm going to go away. And I'm going to come up with a layout that hopefully sort of resembles VelociCoaster and brings this absolute final punch to the ride to hopefully give you the heart attack my Nan didn't have. Or hopefully just knock your socks off. I don't actually want you to have a heart attack. That would be very, very bad. So yeah, let's see how that comes along. Now this is one of my favourite parts of any video, where I cut to the more finished product and you're like, I don't get it, it looks like a mess, and I'm like, this is the best thing since sliced bread, you just got to believe in me, see the vision with me. Well, humble viewer, I can assure you, I agree, this does look a bit of a mess, but trust me, my vision's there, and you can sort of see the start of it. You can see this path weaving through the coaster, so you get a load of interaction, and I've started a building where sort of like the station and launch section will be, so you can see that second launch is going to be buried, and I've dug out the earth I can start putting in the weird rock work like Taron, and hopefully this will all come together to be greatness. But currently I accept, okay, maybe it's not quite there, but look at this top hat. This top hat, that is now there. And I put in a 0G roll. I thought if this ride is going to have an inversion, it should have only one, and it should be front and centre. It should be, you walk into this land and it's one of the main things you see, other than the top hat of course, and that is why there's only the one, and it's so high up. But I think it like sort of is its little signature. You get all the way to the end of this ride, you get thrown upside down once, and that's it. That's your only inversion, but wow, what an inversion it is. I don't know of many other rides that do that. If you do, let me know in the comments, because I'm very curious. I want to have a look to see how they did it. But that was my sort of inspiration behind this one. And then, because we've got so much speed from that top hat, the second half has to have much wider turns, like much wider. You can sort of see here. And VelociCoaster does this too, where the second half is actually much shorter. I've ended up doing the same. Basically, I wanted to end the ride. It was getting quite long, and there's only so much track I can fit in this tiny space. And I don't want the footprint to be bigger. I wanted this to be like as compact as I can possibly make it. And I think this is truly what I wanted it to be. So let's jump on, and I can talk you through each little decision as we go around. I'm going to race through it because it goes quite fast, so let's give it a go. So, like most launch coasters, I've got a turn coming out of the station, and we're going to sit on the launch run. And the reason I wanted it to sit is because I want you to watch the train go over the top hat before it, because what a way to start the ride and build this anticipation. Because, fun little fact, the point of your highest heart rate for any ride is actually when the restraints come down. It's not at any point during the ride, which I think is fantastic. So I wanted to build that suspense, which is why you sit there and watch the train before you go over this giant structure. Before you then start entering into your airtime and all your twists and turns. So I have a load of turns that are quite low to the ground, and my thinking was that I want them to be in like tunnels, because who doesn't love a tunnel? That's some fun. So that's why I've got them in there. If I actually pull that off, is a different thing to be seen, but we'll get to that in a minute. And then, of course, second launch into the top hat. obviously star of the show, I think. You get a great view, come down and go into the 0G roll. You might notice that the banking's a little off in places, and that's because I haven't done my smoothing pass and I haven't really checked the G-forces yet. I know the final curve in this is very, very snappy, probably too snappy, and it needs some work. And, as you could probably also tell going through this, the supports are going to need to be custom, because otherwise we're going to get concussion. Now, I went away and I became obsessed, and I mean obsessed. I poured hours and hours into this. I had dreams about dreams of this ride. That is the level we're talking, where it's dominated every second for the past few weeks. I know this ride like tie bar by tie bar at this point, and wow, what an outcome it's coming along as. I've decided to stick to the steampunk theme that I tried with Hulk, and as a result I needed a story to tell with this ride, and I thought, what a way to sort of encompass and sort of frame the top hat than go with these giant steam stack towers, because the idea here is that we're in an industrial steampunk zone. We've got this power station that's using this steam machine around you which fires riders around the area, and you've got this sort of big warehouse which can act as the station for the ride, and you can have all sorts of ironwork all over the place, and it looks brilliant. As you can see, I have also gone through and started doing the supports. Now, this is where the game has limited me a little. There is no Intermin Blitz / multi-launch coaster in the game at current moment in time. You only have this Mac launch one, or the Vekoma. I wanted this to be a slightly older launch coaster, which is why I went for the Mac version, because the track looks more similar. Otherwise, I would have gone for the Vekoma if I wanted the newest, like VelociCoaster type, but I thought, you know what, let's go for the classic track type, like Maverick, pay homage to that feeling when I don't even know how old I was back in 2014, but anyway, pay back to that sort of feeling I had as a child, like in wonder at Maverick, which is why it's also gone red. I don't know if I'm actually going to stick with red. It probably blends in with the brick too much, but we'll play with that as I develop the scenery and things. But here you can see the creation and the ideas finally getting onto the page, so to speak. So here's the station, and I've got this lovely brickwork, and it's going to be covered in pipes, and it's going to be proper steampunk warehouse. And you'll queue up to it. I don't know which way the queue is going to go yet. Currently I've got it going over the platform, but I'm thinking there might be a way to get it to go down some stairs out here, come down all the way to the bottom underneath the launch track, and then you can queue underneath the ride. I think that might give you some fantastic path interaction, and you'll be like truly immersed. You'll be in like the Undercity, I think is what I'm trying to get away with, the sort of Undercity to the steampunk world, and that will be where you're queuing. You have the ride racing over your head, and what a queuing experience it'll be. It'll be a bit like the Smiler at Alden Towers, where you're in tight cattle pens with a ride above your head. Only, I won't make it as depressing of a queue. I actually intend to theme the building. I don't intend to leave it as a big concrete box with some swirls on it, because that, the original plans for the Smiler station, much more interesting than what we got. But hey ho, I'm in an unlimited budget. They weren't, so haha, I'm better. Anyway, so I've gone through that, and that's my intention for the warehouse. The power station at the end here is quite an interesting structure, because I've got 3 layers of ride in this. So I've got 2 underneath, and then the top and above, where you've got the supports frame in it. The top hand's frame in the tower, and it just draws your eye from everywhere, and that is exactly what I wanted, because I mean, just look at it, look how cool that is. And then of course we've got the rest of the ride. So I've got some tunnels throughout to keep it low ground, and I've started the rock work to give you an idea of what I'm thinking. I want a mix of rock work and brick, so it's not going to be full on Taron. I want some original ideas, but I want it to be that this Undercity has this sort of like steam sort of tunnels, I guess. So it'll have a load of pipe work in it. We'll have some steam effects going off on the ride, and all in all, I think that is going to give you sort of seedy underworld, and then up top we're going to have more sort of industrial buildings of, here you are in this vibrant steampunk town, a bit epic like, is it Rockburg at Fantasialand? I think it's Rockburg. Anyway, where flies. I want that sort of vibe up top, and then down below we're going to have this Taron-y rock work, which is more grimy, more industrial, huge sort of pieces of machinery throughout the queue line, and that's really what I'm going with here. But you know what I'm not sure on? Do you think it looks good in blue?